Hey there, it's Johanna, and today I want to continue our conversation about how to be more ourselves in each of the roles we fill. So last time we talked a bit about how, when we're struggling to believe that who we are is good enough, we might start kind of pretending or performing to try and pretend that we are who we think we need to be in order to fill that role. So today I'm back with 4 questions to help us start digging a little bit more into this. And the first question: when, where, and with whom do you feel most yourself? Because, if we're wanting to show up more and more as who we are, it helps to keep getting a clearer and clearer picture of who that actually is. And yeah, our identity is not one set thing, but we can get little bits and pieces and aspects and qualities and preferences and all of those things from looking at how we show up in experiences or with people where we do feel a little more comfortable to be ourselves. So for you, this might mean, maybe you have some current things you want to look at, or you might go back and look at some memories. Either way, try and be as specific as possible. And for one, this can just give you a clue, oh, yeah, in those places or doing those things or with those people, I do feel more comfortable to just show up as who I am. And maybe that means you want to spend more time there, or maybe it is about, okay, and that helps me identify how I show up when I feel that way, and some of the qualities of situations and people that I feel that way with. So then, maybe think about in those places and with those people, what do you do? How do you act? What types of things do you say? How do you generally feel? And just kind of keep adding up information like that. And then along with that, does that give you any insights into maybe some of your preferences or your values, what matters to you, or, just bits of your personality or your strengths, or just any other qualities that you notice about yourself? Take note of those. Can be useful information. And then our second question is, in which roles do you feel pressure to perform? And, it can be really helpful to identify, what roles do have the most pressure for me? And for some of you, you might already know what those are. You're like, yep, I have a list. And for some of us, it's a little harder to untangle it sometimes. So it can be helpful to check in with our emotions, check in with our bodies. It could be that in roles that you feel more pressure to perform, you might feel a little more resentment or fear or loneliness. And it can be really helpful to notice what's going on in our bodies. Are there roles or, situations where, that you notice more tension in your body, or maybe it's a little shakiness or like a chill, or maybe you feel just kind of small, or it could be just any number of sensations. But those can be helpful ways to start noticing, okay, what are some of those roles where I do feel a bit more pressure? So the third question is, if you could drop the performance, how would you show up? So if you were able to just fully believe that you were more than good enough for that role, and there was no need to try to be any different than you are, how might you show up? And a note here, just as we might, as we will show up differently for different roles in our lives, different people might also show up differently for similar roles because we're different. So this isn't about, what I'm asking here is for you to not look out there for who you need to be in this role, but look at these things that you know about yourself and you're continuing to learn about yourself. And what of those might really be well suited to this role? What aspects of you do you want to really bring to the forefront and really shine in this role? Okay. The fourth question: what do you need to do to start giving yourself permission to stop performing? That felt like a long way to say that. But how can you start giving yourself permission to drop the performance? Because, I can say, and I do, you have permission, you can stop. And it doesn't matter. Not really. Every single person in your life could assure you that you are more than good enough as you are. And it's going to be really hard to stop a performance that maybe helps you feel safe or confident or any number of things until you believe it's okay. And so this isn't about what thing do I have to do to stop doing this and start doing this? But what I'm asking here is more about how can you support yourself in this? And that doesn't mean that part of that might be getting support from other people. But there's a lot that can come up around this. There's a lot of emotions around, why we're performing in the first place, and making changes and stretching into things that are more uncomfortable can bring up a lot. And it is a process to build that trust in ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to practice bringing forward more of who we are. And so I'm asking you to consider, what do you need? Or how do you start to think about what you need in that process? And it is a process. It's ongoing. And if you want this conversation to be ongoing, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment or leave me a message. And I am curious to know if there's anything that came up for you from these questions. Where do you feel most yourself? And where does that pressure show up for you? And what might be some first steps in supporting yourself as you maybe stretch into something a little different? So leave a comment, send me a message. I'll be back with more soon. In the meantime, remember, you can trust yourself.